Hello, hatchlings, and welcome to an Assassinins Creed Chronicles review. Essentially, I'm going to be putting my thoughts and opinions about this game out there because I didn't want to do a full-on series about it because it kind of gets a bit samey. Like, there are some differences, and like you could upload like the story and whatnot. But I wanted to put my opinion out there for this particular game because there is quite a lot to delve into. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the style that this particular game is. It's very much I would say like a 2D platformer puzzling game. Then I would kind of shove it into the whole Assassin's Creed kind of feel of gameplay. They've kind of diverged from that whole entire thing, and it's very much just become a 2D platformer puzzle game, which is good if that is what you are looking for, and if what you are looking for is for more of the story to be brought to life. So there are 3 separate stories that you can play. You have China, India, and Russia. In China, it talks about you playing the character that Ezio sees and talks to in the end of one of the books. So if you're really super into the books and everything, this would be really good because it goes further into that whole entire story with this particular character and what she did and playing as her, rather than playing as her in the actual like Assassin's Creed game series that they have going on. I was about to say trilogy, but it's no longer a trilogy. Instead of doing that, they turned it into a different form. I'm not really sure how I feel about them doing that and their choice in doing that, but that's the direction that they wanted to go into, so that's what they did. In these particular scenes where you're training with your master and you're obviously doing practice, like attacks and defense and everything, you get your sword back so you can actually finally fight with people. This element is interesting, and also if you are unable to complete it after a certain amount of time, you will just get thrown into the game rather than it keep you in the training thing, which is nice that they've done that and let you kind of skip that. But at the same time, I'm not too sure because a lot of that strategy you really do need for this game. I will talk about the art style though. The art style, the background, the way that they do these cutscenes that you can see right here is actually really cool and really pretty. I really love these particular types of art styles. I love the like simple ink painting style that takes a lot of time to perfect and like get correct. And I love the simple brush strokes and the messy brush strokes, and I think that's why I really like this particular art form. I love the way the characters are designed and the background. It very much makes it feel almost as if you were in a living painting, which is very interesting to me. I don't know, I really love that art style, so when I saw the cutscenes for this game, it made me incredibly excited because it genuinely looks really visually appealing and pleasant towards the eyes. And yeah, it's very, very pretty. I enjoy this style. I like the very drawn up styles. It's probably why I like Borderlands so much and why I like Okami. They're different in their own artistic form, but they're the types of styles that I really enjoy. So I do enjoy this art style very much. And I enjoy the 2D puzzle platforming style. However, I was not prepared for it when I put the disc in and pressed play. The reason being is because it has obviously the Assassin's Creed name on it. You're kind of expecting that whole Assassin's Creed element, so they kind of throw you into the deep end a little bit with this different style that they just kind of throw you in with. Don't get me wrong, I really love 2D puzzle platforming games, but I will touch on a few things that make me a bit, I guess, hesitant with the game. I'll continue to play it, and I'll play it in my spare time, but it is one of those things that makes me a bit hesitant. First of all, much like its games, and like how the background and everything will change, and as you progress through levels, it gets more and more difficult, which is expected. However, much as there is kind of new elements brought into like later gameplay kind of episodes and stuff, it still feels very much the same. In a sense, you're going in a particular direction to get to a particular destination, and once you've reached that, that's the end of the level, and then you go into a new one and it's essentially the same. Sometimes you can spend hours on a level, which normally is like fine. That's pretty normal for a 2D puzzle platforming game, and just any puzzle game in general. You will spend a fair few hours on a particular level. Not necessarily the starting levels, because they're pretty they're more just like tutorial based rather than anything. So as you go along, like I said, it gets more and more difficult, and you get more and more people to run away from. But I will say, once you get like past a certain section and you die, if there's no checkpoint that's reached, you do go back to the start. And while that it can be frustrating, it's only frustrating when you've gotten very, very far and there's still no checkpoint, and you continue on and there's still no checkpoint, and you've done quite a lot of things, and you slip up and make one mistake and you end up back to the very beginning. It makes you not really want to continue. For some people, that is the type of game that they really enjoy and get really super into, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do this all again and stuff. But sometimes I need a break from all of that, and I'm sure a lot of people need a break from that in order to come back to it. Another thing that is kind of annoying, and I'm sure it is not meant, and I'm sure it just requires a certain amount of skills, is pressing buttons. Now, you can press the buttons that it tells you to press. However, they are very, very precise and finicky, and often or not, I'll be trying to press buttons to do a particular thing and just end up doing something else entirely. and that can be quite annoying, especially if you have a timed event. There was one particular timed event in this that I was doing, and I was pushing to pull myself up out of harm's way and get myself up on the building, and it just was not happening. This is kind of something that really needs to be fixed, especially if you're going to put in timed events and you are pressing the correct buttons, but it only works, I would say, like 25% of the time, because then you're continuing based off of luck, and then when you also have checkpoints based system and you die and you go back to the checkpoint and have to do everything again, it becomes very disheartening. Another thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit was the simple fact that there are side missions, and there are side missions that you need to complete. Now, if you miss one of the side missions and you only just notice in your map because it didn't originally appear, and you have to go all the way back to it to do it, but you've already reached the checkpoint. The thing with the checkpoint-based system is if you die while you are trying to get back to complete the extra event or whatever, it will send you back and completely delete all of the progress of you doing the extra item, even if you've already done it and you were just simply heading back and you made a silly mistake. It pushes you all the way back to that checkpoint that you reached. And that honestly to me was very disheartening. I didn't want to get the extra things in the level, and it just made me not want to really explore the level and play it how it's intended, because I feel like you are supposed to spend quite a few hours on a particular level, because the idea of the backgrounds and everything like that is to be very visually pleasing and to make you take your time with everything. But if you're having to go back and you slip up and make a mistake, you can't get the extra items or do the extra side missions that you wanted to do. And that was something that very much made it very difficult for me to become immersed in the game, I feel, because I became very distracted and upset and disheartened that I couldn't do the extra thing because there was a sure chance I was going to make another mistake somewhere else. So there is that as well to consider. So from what I have played and everything that I've seen, while it is a very visually pleasing and beautiful game, and there are interesting puzzle elements to it, and some of it is time-based, it is fun in that regard. I also think that there are also faults within the game in terms of its controls and in terms of its save system. For some people they might find that completely fine, but for something that is going to have the Assassin's Creed name, it is something that it should be there, I feel. And especially having the Assassin's Creed name, you're kind of expecting something out of it. And while I try not to associate particular games with other games, you can't help but do it, especially when Assassin's Creed often has just been that one set of particular games, and branching off to something different has been both good, and they definitely took their time in terms of storytelling and the way they did the artwork. That's very visually pleasing. It's very simple, but it's also very visually pleasing, and the puzzles are really, really good. I was just very upset with how the controls went, and I'm sure if I practiced enough I could get really good at it, But there are always going to be issues with any game that will need to be corrected and fixed, and that's the point of progressing and learning. But these was something that I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to share those opinions with you. You don't have to agree with them. That's perfectly fine as well. But I just wanted to talk about the things that I really liked about the game and some criticisms that I did have with the game that could maybe be fixed in the future, because if they plan on making more games like this where they can tell a lot more stories in a different way and kind of branch off into a different style of games such as this, and they want to make another one such as this, if they tweaked the controls a bit more, and how everything kind of flows, and the save elements, especially the save elements, then it would be really good. I understand with the save elements it is like a puzzle type game, so you don't want to have too many saves here and there, because a person could just end up continually saving. But I feel like this was a game that they had in mind for somebody to play through levels multiple times, but at the same time, the way the levels are set up, I feel like not a lot of people are going to want to play these levels multiple times if they're very short and quick levels with interesting puzzles. Then yes, I can see a lot of people replaying this, and I can see a lot of people replaying this particular game to get things 100%, but it is very time consuming to do so, and it looks like the side elements are not too important. Originally I thought they were extremely important because there were particular missions, but you can still progress the game without doing those side missions. So yes, this is just one of those things where there's some good, some bad. Some bad things make sense with the type of game that it is, but all in all, it is an interesting and fun game. It is not something that I would play all the time, but it is something that I will play in my spare time here and there, and especially when I have the time to play long hours such as these. Also, if you all have played this game, and you have your own criticisms, or your own criticisms about my own criticisms, or you absolutely love it, or you hate it, let me know in the comments below. Let me know your opinion on this game, and how you felt playing it, and if you played it, and why you didn't play it if you didn't play it. And maybe we can have a conversation about it, and just kind of see what everyone's opinions lie on this particular game. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this review. If you did, waddle over to the like button and set the subscribe to become a hatchling. And I will hopefully see you all in a wingspan. Bye bye!
当然是刺客。